Oh, we're live!
Oh, hi! I'm Christian Schmoe, and this is the Schmoe Show!
Yes.
Where we talk about Schmoe Farm.
You know what we need is like an opening music.
Yeah, a little Broadway number.
With you and Drew. You and Drew could sing like an opening number.
We could, yeah. Drew's my husband. He's my co-farmer and founder of Schmoe Farm with me. And he is a singer extraordinaire.
He is. So, well, you're a singer extraordinaire too.
Well, that'll be for another episode.
I mean, the Schmoe Show really could be anything you want it to be.
It could. Well, and wait till we introduce cocktails, because that'll just
right.
over the top.
But right now, it's just coffee.
Right. Good morning, everybody. This is our first Schmoe Show, so thanks for tuning in. And I want to introduce to you myself, of course. I'm Christian Schmoe, and my big bonus sister, Suzanne Boyd. She's a TV news personality, digital talk show creator, podcast host, and author. So I'm very fortunate and blessed to have her give me a kick in the butt to get this show started, and I really needed that. So welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you. Yay! So yesterday, Christian and I were actually talking about some social media stuff because I'm kind of a self-taught social media person, so I've figured all this stuff out on my own, just from trial and error. Mm-hmm. But we were talking about it yesterday, and I said, you should just do a live show. Every Wednesday at 9:30, just do a live show. And he was like, okay. And I saw his eyes get really big, and I'm like, okay, we're going to create an event, and we're going to do it tomorrow at 9:30. And he's like, okay, so we're really doing it.
Oh my God. And this is great because at the time we were talking about it yesterday, she was like covered in cow poop. So she's really cleaned up for the show, and it's just an outlet for us to really talk about what Schmoe Farm is, why it is, and how important it is that we understand our food system and where it comes from.
Yes,
so I'm so glad that you're here.
Really quickly, what I want to do and what you guys can do if you're watching right now is to share this live stream, because that really helps spread the word. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to share it right now on my Suzanne Boyd page so that people can go see it. So that's what you can do. Go hit that little share button at the bottom, and then share it on your page.
Spread the gospel of Schmoe Farm.
Schmoe Show.
Schmoe it up. Let's just do it.
So let's get right into it, because I feel like what you guys are doing, especially in this region, North Florida, South Georgia. We're actually in South Georgia.
Yes. We're right on the Florida-Georgia line. Mm-hmm. We refer to ourselves as Florgians.
Yeah.
So,
literally, the Florida-Georgia line is like 2 seconds right there.
You see it from my window.
That's right. So I think that, in this region, it's really kind of traditional farming, typically.
Yeah, industrial agriculture.
Industrial agriculture, but you guys are doing something very different in this region. So tell me how Schmoe Farm came about.
Schmoe Farm came about, and this is a short story of it, but I was 27.
The abridged version.
The abridged version. I'll get into the long version later, but I was 27, 28, working a desk job in the city. I was over 300 pounds, high blood pressure, bad cholesterol, and I was like, I'm way too young to have all these issues.
So in the city, you mean New York?
New York City, yeah. We were working in Manhattan, living in Queens, and we moved down here a couple years ago. But the journey about my health and what was connecting to everybody's health, and why over 70% of Americans are overweight or obese, or why 2/3 of Americans have high blood pressure or bad cholesterol, according to the CDC or the American Medical Association. These things, there's so many connecting factors, and it all leads down to, I believe, what we are eating and how our food is produced, and the access to the food that we need to not be, sick and fat and tired. So, everyone knows this. There's a lot of documentaries out there about that, our food systems and all that. So, for me, I had to make a change, and I, just watched YouTube videos, read farming books, and for years, just kind of Drew and I just figured out what we wanted to do with our lives, and I think it was about spreading the word about health, our food systems, and how to have a healthier, more sustainable, and humane way of food production.
So you grew up in Savannah, basically,
yes.
Correct? But your family had this farm here, the Blackwater Plantation, where the Schmoe Farm is.
Yes.
And you all, so farming was kind of in your blood.
Yeah, my grandparents. And in the summers, we'd come out here and we would I would sometimes work the farm, toss hay bales, do a bunch of stuff like that. And so I had a taste for farming, but we kind of skipped a generation.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Savannah, so I was pretty much a city boy. And I didn't understand that a chicken wasn't a chicken, that a chicken raised in a cage was so different from a chicken on pasture. And that's what Schmoe Farm is. We do pasture-raised poultry and forest-raised pork. So anyway, we'll get into that. But the thing is, we had to return to the land, and for us, that was such a big journey.
Talk about a change. I mean, from Manhattan to Quitman, Georgia, basically.
Oh man, yeah. And the thing is,
I mean, there is nothing. I mean, we have to drive 15 minutes just to get to a grocery store.
Oh man, and that grocery store has no organic options or pastured options.
Right.
And so really, if you want it, you got to grow it, or you got to go for it and find it.
Yeah.
So part of our journey and what we want to share with you in the show and through our social media is you learning with us how to farm, how to find the right food sources, and how to contribute to a more humane and sustainable system, which, we're all afraid of climate change and we're all scared of the effects of that. And we wonder how we can affect that. And so much of it is how being a conscious consumer of what we are buying puts into that economy that drives those kind of changes that we need to make those climate changing changes.
So you moved down here from New York City, and did you know immediately that that's what you wanted to do, was do this sustainable, beyond organic farming?
Oh yeah, we read Pastured Poultry Profits by Joel Salatin, and it blew my mind that chickens were not raised the way chickens should be raised. That everything that we eat, all these animals, are raised on concrete and create manure issues and horrible health and bacterial things. And anyway, there's tons of information about that. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to get into it. But the main thing is that we are all about compassionate farming. Mm-hmm. And by extending compassion to the animals that we raise to sustain ourselves, by literally eating them, we give them the kind of life which allows them to be the animals that they should be. Mm-hmm. And in return, we get a regenerative agriculture. We get an animal welfare system, which gives them, the way the chicken can be a chicken instead of, this force-fed machine in a cage on concrete. And as a result, we get a healthier food product, a nutrient-dense food, and we get real food, not these things that are lacking in nutrients and causing us to gain weight and have all these high blood pressure issues and all these health things which contribute to our healthcare crisis. And so it's all connected, and I think it all starts with the ground up from what we're eating.
And it's funny because when you come here to Schmoe Farm, you see the chickens, they're just running around. they're right up by the door. So your chickens are and we talk about this, yesterday when I was talking with Drew about this, or Christian about this show, the things he was telling me were so eye-opening to me. And I feel like I'm a pretty educated consumer.
Right.
But some of the things you were talking about, just with the bacon,
Mm-hmm.
And how there is good and bad bacon. There
Mm-hmm.
is, you can get, healthy bacon. It's still going to be fat, but, and not,
Well,
but
there's good fats and bad fats. Right, yeah.
So we were talking about that, and I said, I just don't think a lot of people understand, and I think you have a lot of knowledge being...
Working on it.
Working on the farm. Yeah. John says South Georgia, Valdosta, Bainbridge, or Waycross regions. Okay. Hey, John. Let me just do this so we can see. Yeah.
Oh, hey, Brian.
Hey, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
Brian says, hi, yes, I love the farm and everything y'all are doing. Thank you, Brian.
Oh, thanks, Bea.
So what I was surprised about was just the knowledge that you have, and I think it's so important that you're able to share that with people. Mm-hmm. And you have a platform with social media to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Now, the thing we were talking about yesterday that I really loved was the difference between happy and sad meat.
This is, we have to take it back to almost a childlike understanding of our food system, because I get asked all the time, I don't know what to buy at the store. I don't know what kind of meat is healthy meat. It says it's natural. It says it's, free range. It's as simple as pretend you're a child holding this hamburger patty at the store and ask, is this happy meat or is this sad meat? And I'm not talking about, like, is this a happy meal? I'm talking about, is this meat that came from an animal that was happy, that was able to express what it was and live the way that it was intended? And by virtue of being able to do that, you know that it's either pasture-centered or forest-centered, or raised in a way which is regenerative. I mean, that whether that's oyster farming or whether that's a chicken out on pasture laying eggs, you know, it's all about, was that animal able to be the animal it was intended? And by virtue of that, we'll be able to harvest all those benefits. We'll feel better about the food that we eat. We'll feel good because the food is nutrient dense, it's good for us, it's a higher quality. And we know that we're contributing to a net zero carbon emission system, which allows us to continue to make a lot of food production without contributing to, you know, our global climate crisis.
So you all raise chickens?
Chickens and pigs for now. Yeah.
So tell me about your pigs, because your pigs are like, they look pretty happy.
Oh man,
they're like roaming the woods. They call them and they come up and you scratch their backs and pet them.
Yeah, when you get a pork chop from us, you know that it's had its back scratched probably every day, because I really love all of our animals.
Yeah.
But yeah, our forest raised pork, they're heritage breeds. They're Berkshire, Old Spots, and a cross of the two, and they are really able to free range throughout the woods. So what we do, we have these paddocks, 1 to 2 acres set up, and once they've eaten one area down, they've eaten all the plants, the mushrooms, the acorns, and that's what they do in nature. And so once they've eaten one area down, then we move them to the next. And we supplement their forest diet with a non-GMO feed, which is locally grown and milled in Pelham, Georgia. And so we try and do the least amount of carbon emissions we can in our production system. And all the manure just goes right back into the forest. They regenerate it. It's sort of like a controlled burn, you know, like wildfire naturally occurring through it.
So how long before one of those plots of land where the pigs were living, how long before that will regenerate and you can put pigs back on that property?
Well, we let it rest for several months. So maybe 2 or 3 times a year we'll run through the same area. But the plants grow back pretty much immediately, very quickly.
Yeah.
The acorns, you know, it's whenever the oak trees drop. I think it's a couple times a year, but we really give it a ton of time.
So pigs eat acorns?
Oh my God, yeah.
They love them, huh? They're like squirrels.
Oh yeah, well.
Except for not.
They don't lose their nuts. They actually eat these nuts on the spot. Really? So yeah,
they don't go hide them up in the tree.
Yeah, and that's part of what contributes to the delicious, you know, fatty flavor of it.
The pigs.
And it's a healthy fat versus a bad fat, which is what you get when you have an animal that just sits on concrete just eating, you know, CAFO corn all day long. So it's just a totally different production system, which results in a totally different product. And really, when you taste it for the first time, and probably a lot of people, you know, watching this have had pastured pork, and pastured pork is a wonderful food production system. We just take it a different direction with the forest raised, so they do get a nuanced flavor that is different from a pasture raised pig. So.
And I've had their pork and it is delicious.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, it really does have a different taste.
Yeah, it tastes alive. It tastes like the flavor isn't what you put into it. The flavor already exists in the meat itself, because the meat was a living animal that was able to actually be what it was intended to be. It had a healthy immune system. You know, all these animals that are raised in factories in CAFO style, they are fed tons of antibiotics and medicines and stuff, so they're artificial. They don't have like an immune system, and that's so important.
So when you go to the grocery store, how do you know what you're getting? What are the buzzwords to look for in your meat that tell you that you're getting happy meat?
Yeah, there is a lot of greenwashing, but you can always be sure if you see pasture raised, 100% grass finished.
Finished,
for beef.
not fed.
Finished. Grass fed can mean it was on pasture for some point in its life, but really make sure. And I know Publix and some of the bigger grocery stores carry 100% grass fed beef, and you can start finding grass milk, which is sold now. I've seen in stores as well, but really the best way, and the way that I want to encourage you to do it, is to find your local farmer, and not just someone who grows, whatever. But, just a local farmer, and if you can't find a local farmer, order it, because it's worth it to your health, and it's worth it to our environment and to your taste buds, that you're eating a high quality, nutrient dense food.
So you can find a local farmer and go and pick up, just like you can at your place, go and pick up their eggs, go and pick up their pork, go and pick up their beef, like whatever you want, and you go out and pick it up. Or do they deliver?
There are some delivery services. ButcherBox is one that I know, but you can go to localharvest.com, and that's a good resource to find local farmers near you. Going to your farmer's market and just looking around, you can find farmers that way. But the more that we all, as consumers, spend in that industry, in that arena, the more that we can produce for you, and then the more change can be affected from that. But I understand, it is hard to spend that extra time and dime, to it. It's worth it. But if you're in the grocery store and you're, strapped and that's where you are, then look for the grass finished, look for pasture raised. Usually Whole Foods has everything pretty well documented there, but in Publix you can find it, Kroger, I don't know what, but it's in our store, for example, we don't have that option. So we just grow it ourselves, and
so the best would be to find a local farmer and get the animal, or the meat, or the pork, or the chicken, or the eggs, whatever, from your local farmer. Next would be to go to your grocery store and make sure you're looking for 100% grass-fed or grass-finished.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And for your eggs, because I just recently, over the last probably 2 years, have been very cognizant of the eggs that I'm buying, because I've seen these documentaries. I've seen these documentaries about how these chickens are treated, and it's just heartbreaking. I mean, it really is, because listen, I'm a cattle farmer's daughter. I grew up eating meat. I crave meat. I crave meat protein, so I don't think I would ever be able to be a vegan. I just don't think I would. But here's the thing, I do believe that our animals should be treated humanely in the process. And I think that's what this is all about, right?
Yes, it is.
So for the chickens, I've really, over the last couple of years, been very cognizant about buying eggs that are, cage-free.
Yes, and that's a great point, because the eggs are, to me, the most deceiving of all the food products out there, because they'll say all natural, they'll say vegetarian fed, they'll say cage-free, but I think, and a lot of us have seen those pictures where it says cage-free, but then there's like this huge factory with them all stuffed in there together. So it's not cage-free. You have to look for pasture-centered, pasture-raised, and even there. But the main thing is that their feet are on grass and not concrete, and so you have to ask yourself, again, was this a happy animal? And from there, everything else just solves itself. And I know it sounds simple, but by putting an emotion to it, it leads you to a compassionate agriculture, which then leads to the regenerative and humane production system.
So pasture raised for the eggs, and I will tell you that over the last couple of days that I've been here, I've eaten your eggs, not your chicken's eggs.
Yeah, of course.
And they are just so delicious, and the yolk is so much brighter than the other eggs that I get in the grocery store.
Oh man, and even the grocery store, they'll trick you, because they will do food dye in your eggs. They'll give them pigment to make the egg appear yellow when really it'll just be very pale. So our eggs, and there'll be a variety of colors, because like chickens also have particular diets. Some might like bugs more than others. Some might like to eat more grass.
Is that why they're different colors?
Yeah. So the yolks will have a different consistency of color, which is really cool, and part of it's a living food, which is part of the joy of it. But the flavor is incomparable. And
I wish I could take some back, but we're flying. So I don't think they'll let me.
Well, you never know. You don't want to walk around with yolk running down your pants, I guess.
That would be a bad thing. I don't know if I get through security.
That's terrible.
All right. So what else are we missing? What else are we supposed to talk about? What's your biggest struggle so far? What is
well, the biggest struggle which in part is why we're doing this show right now, and doing something live is horrifying, by the way.
but you've done amazing.
But the struggle, which is real, by the way, is just people's knowledge of it and people's participation in this kind of agriculture. Yeah. And I wanted to start the show, and thanks for the kick in the butt to get this started, because having that conversation is the best beginning point for us to understand why it matters where our food come from, and why it matters how it's raised, and how that affects us and our ecosystem and our financial systems too. So it's all related. It all starts with the soil and what you do with it. And I can't wait to explore in detail more of these ideas in weeks to come. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, and I think you guys have so much knowledge about all of this stuff, and I think, easily you can do once a week a Facebook Live, and if you guys will all join Farmer Schmoe on the Schmoe Show.
Yes.
That's a mouthful, by the way.
Yeah, and send us the Schmoe Show. Say it 5 times fast, because I can't. But seriously, just send us questions.
Yes.
And then that'll give us ideas of what people really want to know about.
Yeah, so definitely comment on the bottom of this video if you have any questions, and maybe they'll do a whole show, Schmoe Show, on whatever you're asking about, because you guys are super, super smart, and I'm so proud of what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
I feel like I'm from South Florida, but I feel like it's really cold here right now with the way the fireplace is in the background.
But it's warm and cozy.
It's like 100 degrees outside.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, well, thank you so much for joining, getting us on our inaugural episode, and thank you everybody for watching.
Joining. And don't forget to leave your questions and follow Schmoe Farm on Instagram. They're here on Facebook, so like their Facebook page if you're following from another page. And they're going to start a YouTube channel soon.
Next, yeah, right.
I'm like, okay, we got to start you up on a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Are there any restaurants that carry your meats? Jessica wants to know.
We do specials at some restaurants. We've had our pork burger sold. Some places in Tallahassee have featured our product. But we're still a small farm, and we're still growing, so it's hard to create the volume that you need for a consistent supply for a restaurant. So all of our sales are direct, and at markets or through market stores. So
where can you get your products? Online?
We go through our website. You can get our products online. You can find us at markets. We do home deliveries in the Thomas, Brooks, Lowndes County areas in North Florida. And if you're not in the area, then please find your local farmer, or go to your farmer's market and find these kind of meats which are raised locally, sustainably, and humanely.
This isn't just a commercial for Schmoe Farm. It's also just they really want to educate people and just get the word out about these small local farmers that really are making a difference.
Yeah, because it starts with us. Our government's not going to do it. It's going to be us and you together. So anyway, that's
so support your local farmer.
Yeah.
And what's your website?
Our website is schmoefarm.com, and we're
easy.
Schmoe Farm on Facebook, which you know that, I guess, if you're watching us. And then Instagram is Schmoe Farm.
And Wendy says plug the Makers Market this weekend. Are you guys going to be at Makers Market?
Yes, we're going to be at Makers Market in Valdosta. So,
so if you're in the Valdosta area, come to Makers Market this weekend. What day is that?
It's this Saturday from 10 to 2. Tons of local artisans, farmers, and you can really learn a lot about local growers in your area by going there. It's in in the city square. So go. It's free. Just go peruse and buy our eggs.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Kristen.
All right.
Yay.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.